Well, I hope you're all keeping well. Time to start the next Archtop Mandolin. So the journey starts here. So this one is going to have American Black Walnut back and sides. I've made a lot of instruments from walnut, be it Claro, American Black, English Walnut, and it's a beautiful tone wood. It sounds good, it looks good, and it's fantastic to work. And of course the other thing is it's a temperate hardwood, so you know, you're not worried about various rainforest, tropical hardwood issues. So yeah, so this lump of walnut, that cost me about £100. So what I want to do is to try to get 2 mandolins out of this, and that makes that piece of wood economically viable, really. So we've got a bit of sawing and preparation ahead of us here. Right, so here's the plan. I've marked out the shape of the mandolin. You can see you can get 2 out of that sort of board. I've made up this very rough sort of jig, and the idea is I'm going to clamp that onto the walnut and saw against these 2 pieces of wood. That would be a guide, and I think I'll be able to cut a bit more accurate than if I just had a pencil line around there. I'm going to try to cut it with one of my Japanese pull saws. It's got a much narrower curve than the sort of the traditional Western style saw, and obviously I don't want to waste any wood. The only thing I'm a bit cautious about is I'm not sure whether or not it will cut enough per stroke, so I may, you know, swap back to that one at some point. But yeah, there you go. So that's what I'm going to have a go at doing. Cut once, plane the surface, cut twice. I'll have the book matched pieces for the back, and then the third and last piece, resaw for the sides, the fretboard extension, the neck laminate, etc. So yeah, so wish me luck, and off we jolly well go. Off we go then. So the clever thing here is that the teeth are closer together as you get towards the handle, and that's to help you get started. So let's have a look. Right. So far so good. One of the issues I'm seeing straight away is that this nut and bolt that holds the blade in, I think that's going to start binding on there, so I'm not quite sure how successful I'm going to be with this. As much as it's physically hard work doing the sawing, the other problem is just holding the piece of wood. Oh, there we go. That was a surprise. This piece just flew off. There. So that's that first piece done. Oh, I must admit that was hard work. Right, so, yeah, give me a breath back and think about it. So before I make the second cut, I'm just going to plane this piece flat. Oh, right, so that's the first piece cut. I've given this a plane, and hopefully if I move that around in the light you can see that lovely flame ripple effect, so well worth all of the effort. So I'll cut that second slice off. Not now, I need to have a bit of a rest. I mean, a couple of years ago I would have said that this is impossible to cut something like this by hand. I mean, it's not impossible, it's just very, very hard. But you got to ask yourself, how would they have done it back in the day? How would Louis Panormo have done it? Torres, and Antonio Stradivari. Oh yes, they would have got their apprentices to do it, wouldn't they? Yeah, take your point. Anyway, so far so good. Do the other one tomorrow. Okay, so after about, I don't know, good 4 hours of sawing and planing, I've got the piece of walnut that I'm going to use for the sides, so I can deal with that a little bit later. And I've got these two pieces for the backs, and as you can see, they're going to make two very beautiful carved backs. So I need to cut down here and then decide which one I'm going to work on and join it up. So whilst we're on the subject of walnut, I've got these leaves of really beautiful burr walnut. I've had these for years, and I'm going to use this for the head overlay and also for the finger rest pick guard. As far as the pick guard is concerned, it will kind of look like a bit like tortoise shell, so you have that kind of old school look to it. And before you try to glue this down, you have to dampen it, otherwise it will just crack. So yeah, so that's the other bit of walnut that I shall be using on this instrument. So I'm just in the middle of bending the sides. So that first one's been done, and just clamped it in to the mould whilst it dries out. The second one I've just put in some water. I only need to leave the walnut for a minute or so. It's such beautiful wood to bend. It shouldn't give you any problem whatsoever. In fact, if anything, you might even find it too easy to bend and overbend. So, having kind of roughly bent it, I'm just going around now, tweaking it to make sure that it fits into the mould without having to force it in and building up stresses in the instrument. I know these Fox bending machines are really gaining popularity, but to me this is a magical process, and making an instrument wouldn't seem the same without going through this process. So what we've got here on the bench now is a pile of walnut delights. Out of that lump of walnut that you saw at the beginning, I did indeed manage to get two backs, and here's the first one I'm going to be using on this current Archtop build. So you can see it's joined together nicely book matched. The sides have now dried out, so they're ready to be joined together with the two end blocks, and then the linings will go into that. I haven't yet made the neck, but what I have done is I've prepared this piece of walnut, which is going to be the central core. That's from an offcut of the back. So when you look at it from the back, you'll see that everything matches nicely. We've got the head overlay that I've laminated. Touch of red there instead of green on this one. So that's going to be the head overlay, and I think the only thing missing from here is another piece of this walnut, which needs to be laminated to the finger rest when I'm actually in a position to make that. So I've got everything I wanted from that piece of walnut that I showed you at the beginning, plus a pile of really useful offcuts, so I can see them getting used for something else. So very pleased with the way that's turned out. So as always, thanks for taking the time to watch the video. You take care and stay tuned, and you'll see how this one progresses. Okay, cheers then, bye bye.